Hello, bruvs. I've been watching Un Chien Andalou, bruvs, because my child went to a Pixies concert last night, and yeah, so got to thinking about Debaser by the Pixies and his relation, obviously, to Un Chien Andalou. Anyway, last night before bed, I was thinking about books in general and how we're basically, I know this is conspiracy to some people, but when you see many, especially 20-year-oldish women, and they reread their childhood chapter books, and it's all just seems to be a weird part of a weird pedophile cult where people are stuck in permanent adolescence, but in a weird way, like the coming of the adult cartoon is what I'm trying to get at, which I think is a purposeful propaganda. Like The Simpsons, I absolutely hated The Simpsons, and I hate The Family Guy, and I hate all South Park and all that stuff. To me, it's all pedophilia and propaganda to infantize the mind, which I think is what happens after most countries once they have been destroyed in wars. America's war is more or less a psychological one. So, yeah, I was thinking about that, and I was like, what books did I read when I was a child? I'm like, I didn't read Goosebumps. I didn't read any of that bullshit. I was reading books about Joe DiMaggio, even though he was long retired by then. And there was one book, which I keep seeing at thrift stores, is, I think it's called On Windy Hill. And I tried to read this book at least 50 times. Let me see if I can find the exact title. On Windy Hill. I believe it was called. I thought I had a copy of it, but I don't. The Ghost of Windy Hill. That's what it is. The Ghost of Windy Hill. The Ghost of Windy Hill book. You'll know the copy when you see it, bravs. And I will show it to you in a minute. Come on, show it. Show it! Ghost of Windy Hill. Yeah, I don't know what it's about, but I've seen it 1,000 times and never buy it because it's not worth anything. But yeah, I was thinking about that book, and I'm like, I never really read. I mean, obviously I read some books when I was younger, but those are the two books I remember. On Windy Hill and book about Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. None of this bullshit chapter books, Hardy Boys, Goosebumps, more scary stories, Richard Scarry, none of it. I used to read the newspaper, Bubba. Anyway, I don't know where the hell I'm going with this story. But let's get on to the new book arrivals. Celebrity Cats, a catalytic catalogue of the feline friends of the great and near great, of the great and near great, as observed by Larry Wright. And Larry Wright was a columnist for, not a columnist, but a cartoonist for the Detroit News. And back when I had me paper out, I had this t-shirt. I love Motley in the Detroit News, as you can see. And I would read Motley. I don't remember much of the cartoons, but I liked Motley. Motley was a champ. So I found this book the other day. Of course, I had to get it. Didn't know it even existed. But yeah, Motley the cat. Then there's this, Ruth Montgomery's Herald of the New Age. the spiritual odyssey of the world's leading psychic authority. Few people have lived as rich and as varied a life as has Ruth Montgomery, the best-selling author. Now she tells her own fascinating story. Her earlier career as a nationally syndicated political columnist and distinguished Washington correspondent. Her initial skepticism about psychic phenomena and her gradual conversion to the truths of this largely unexplored and mysterious realm. Her friendship with renowned spiritualists like Gene Dixon and Arthur Ford. Her predictions of the sweeping changes. Yeah, bunch of rubbish, but she made lots of money off it, I assume. Merry Christmas, Love Sue. Kay's Book Exchange. Yeah. The silly side of Sherlock Holmes. What's so silly about peace, love, and Sherlock Holmes? A pastime which he pursued at every opportunity. This one, man, I guess I can't read this. I'll get sued. Or at least a copyright strike, which is worse. Well, yeah. 2005. What you are about to read? The greatest man who never lived and who will never die. Orson Welles. I've been a Sherlock Holmes fan. I have not, but I still collect the books. Confronting horror. Bridging insulation. Enough outlets. LR. Confronting the horror. The novels of Nelson Algren. Must say that I don't really know who the hell Nelson Algren is. Algren's influences Couperin, Sartre, and Celine. The Man with the Golden Arm, A Walk on the Wild Side, and Who Lost an American. The Devil's Stocking, The Experiment in Fiction. Anyway, now I'll have to start collecting Nelson Algren. If I ever see one of his books, which I probably never have. The Simone de Beauvoir. Several influential critics in recent years have written obituaries for the tradition of American literary naturalism, essential reading important. Yeah. Terry Pratchett, Lords and Ladies. As I've stated before, I have zero interest in Terry Pratchett, but his books seem to be worth a few bucks. Not a lot. 6, 7, $8. Shipping included. So I collect them. It's a worthy exchange of 50 cents. Methinks. Gleanings of 75 by Susan Lukens. Philadelphia, Porter and Coates, 1873. I started reading the preface of this book on a video, which I will post. I only got through maybe, I didn't even finish the preface. Which is sad, because it's literally only one full page. And I did not finish it, but I tried to. I will post that later, because I know people are dying to hear what I read of it. Yeah, I would like to just start reading books to cats. Sit them all around on the porch and just say, hey, kittens, it's time for a book, and see what happens. But I'm afraid white coats will show up and take me away. Or crackheads will take me astray. Unholy Child, which made me think, for some reason, the song Loved Ones by NXS. What does she call? What does he say in that song? The lyric. What's that song called again? The Loved One. In Excess. Obviously, it's a remake. What's he say? Crazy Child? What's the fucking lyrics for this song? That's all I want to know. Evil Child. Maybe that's what he says. Evil Child. Yonder she's walking, she comes my way. Yeah, helpless baby, evil child. That's what this reminded me of. For some unknown reason, but within the pages is this postcard for the putt-putt golf at 11900 Middle Belt Road, or 8300 Chicago Road, Warren, Michigan. First being in Livonia. I believe this used to be where there is now a McDonald's and a, what's it called? Chick-fil-A. I went there time or two, bruv. So did Danny Schultz, apparently. Hey, he lived at Minton. I knew a girl who lived in Minton Street. Let's see if it was close to her house. A girl who was a love interest, but I had a girlfriend, so I could not love her. And then she eventually died, I guess. Apparently. Minton. That is not the house. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know anything about this unholy child. The book looks awful, but since I found the postcard within, I could not get rid of it. I mean, I could have, but I did not. The Story of 100 Operas. Felix Mendelssohn, I believe. When the hell did Felix Mendelssohn live? Seems like he was like 1700s. But maybe I'm wrong. German composer. 1809 to 1847. That's what I figured. He was long dead by the time this book came out. How the hell when did he write this? When Felix Mendelssohn first conceived the idea of writing the story of 100 operas, opera going was a luxury available, blah, 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 blah. 1940. Yeah, it's just the 1940 reprint of a 1913 book, which occurred 66 years after his death. So I'm not sure what the demand was, but there it is. Now in me collection. Don't particularly like the opera. The Pun Also Rises, which is obviously a play on The Sun Also Rises. How the humble pun revolutionized language, changed history, and made wordplay more than some antics. Johnson's Dictionary. In 1746, a former school teacher named Samuel Johnson began compiling a new English dictionary, unlike a similar project recently completed in France, in which officials had assembled a great bureaucracy to compile a French dictionary. Over the course of decades, Johnson undertook his project largely alone, with the assistance of only a handful of clerks. His goal like a fucking warbling goose. Sorry. I've had coffee and no breakfast yet, so maybe my brain's a little bit frazzled, bruv. Whoa. What did I just see there? King Harold. Anyway, back to Pokemon. I've got 2 books on Pokemon. For me child, who's not necessarily a child anymore, but collects Pokemon stuff, so 50 cents for a book. I got the Super Extra Deluxe Essential Handbook and the Essential Handbook. You could never hate little Pikachu, can you, bruv? It'd be great if there's a vintage Charizard in the midst of this book, but I don't see nothing. So there's that. And then we come to Hang Time by Zev Shafitz, a thriller, a novel, which isn't really worth anything, but Zev, I believe, Yeah, he was raised in Michigan. He moved to Israel in 1967. He may be dead at this point. I don't know. Let's see if Zev is still alive. Zev Shafetz. I assume he's still alive. He's 76 years old. Still alive. Born in Pontiac. Anyway, Zev's real connection to Detroit is in Devil's Night and Other True Tales of Detroit, which I plan to read on this channel at some point. On the night before Halloween. I guess we shouldn't get into that, should we? This is about a Detroit cop or some bullshit. I mean, novels are mostly throwaway words for bored people. I rarely get bored enough to read anything modern in a novel, just because I just find it rubbish. It was warmer than usual, almost hot, despite the dry, crisp breeze that blew through the deserted compound. The skies always was pure blue, and all the days they had been coming out to the court, Tyrone couldn't remember seeing a single cloud. Waleed bounced the ball high around his waist once, twice, 3 times, and tossed it toward the basket. Caromed off to the left, he and Tyrone both went for it. They met almost chest to chest, and Waleed whispered, "My father's going to kill you." Tyrone felt the court tip, and he stumbled slightly. He had wanted to believe that Waleed could protect him. That illusion was now gone. He regained his balance, put his hand on the boy's shoulder, and said, "When?" "Soon, I think." "He tell you that?" "No, but I know. I can tell. We've got to do something." "We," said Tyrone, which in his language meant you and me on different sides of this motherfucker. White boy. He looked over at the guards. Moon Pie and Spaceman were on duty again today. Anyway, you get the gist of that. And I got the gist of this. Hey, look, it even says Detroit on the side. Devil's Night is an extraordinary, compelling journey into the heart of a dreadful place, the 6th largest city in the United States. No one has tapped the psyche of the urban American city in such a clear, discerning, and even-handed fashion. Chaffetz's words, unambiguous and brutally honest, should be cause for reflection for every politician and planner in this country. The basis of this book is just the Devil's Night fires, which occurred in Detroit, which at one point, like he said, was a city of 1.5 million people. White people don't know a goddamn thing. And has now been reduced to basically, I think, 700,000 people. It's probably never in the history of a city which has not fallen to war or like catastrophic natural destruction, where the city has lost over half its population. Of course, that population didn't go far. They were absorbed into the suburbs where I reside. But yeah, this is a dying city, which is emblematic of a dying country and a one falling into empire, which will see cataclysm like none other has, like the fall of Rome. But people don't care about that, do they? No, they want to read the Goosebumps. And remember Atari and all that good stuff. You know, life goes by so quick. That was another thing I wanted to mention. I keep hearing people say life goes by so quickly, and I'm like, listen, you've never worked a 40-hour job if you think life goes by fast. Never. Because some nights, take for instance, last night, felt like, which I worked 8 or 9, 10 hours, it seemed like it was about 3 weeks. So, those people saying that life goes by quickly either are in some kind of stupor and aren't feeling it all as it happens, or Well, they're trying to get back to a certain place. Maybe it's the old high school. High school was the greatest time of our lives, kind of thing. Where all the stuff that happened afterwards was just time flying through a window. But I don't know, bruvs. Like I said, I feel like I've been alive 1,000 years and I'm not even that old. I can't even imagine what 100-year-old motherfucker would feel. But yeah, I'm rambling. Probably should go eat my blueberries and Cheerios. And to you, Cheerio, bruvs. Cheerio.